Why, hello, it's Robbie from Southern California on a beautiful, cool, cloudy day. I wanted to just come on and tell you what is going on with the hummingbirds, and let's talk about a few little questions that people have asked. Here is my hummingbird feeding station. In the last video you saw it looked a little different because off and on I have to deal with ants. Well, what I did here was I took a tote lid, because I grow a lot of my gardens in totes, and I had this lid. It's a heavy duty lid. And see how I've got water in it? Well, ants can't swim. So I've now placed a lot of the feeders. A lot of these are homemade feeders. That's an ice cream container. That's a coffee cup with a peanut butter cup in there. That's just a tray with a kid's pizza set in there. And that is a coffee jar with a feeder in there. Now the coffee jar has got its own little vessel here from the top of a food container. That's got water, but all this has water in it now. And so it's been successfully keeping the ants out. They try periodically and come around the edge, but they can't get in, and that's what keeps the ants out of that. Or you could go with something as simple as a container like that, and that works just as well. Some of you have been concerned. How do you keep the orioles out of the hummingbird feeders? That's really an interesting question because it's the opposite here. I actually bring the orioles in. They can feed out of that feeder without a problem. They've been coming in all morning feeding with the hummingbirds. They're not after hummingbirds. They don't hurt hummingbirds. They may be a little intimidating to some of the hummingbirds because of the size, but that's basically it. They're not bothering them. The hummingbirds will go off, sit in a tree and wait, but they'll be right back. And a lot of them will just move to another feeder and just ignore the orioles. So as far as bringing them in or trying to not bring them in, it is the opposite. The orioles right now, they come in March and April and have babies everywhere, all through the area out here. They nest in generally palm trees, but wherever they can weave their nest, they will build a nest and have multiple nests. They can have 2 nests and 3 nests of babies. Banana plants, bird of paradise, they like the leaves because they can weave their nest inside the leaves that fold and keep their babies dry in case we have rain. But it's a way to shelter them from the sun as well. I encourage them to come in. I want them to come in, and you can bring them to a specific area if you want. What I do is I put out a bowl with a kid's pizza set. Now, why is there a pizza set in the bowl? So in case they decide to land on it, they're going to stand on the plastic pizza set, which has holes in it, so the hummingbirds can land on it too and drink through the holes, but the orioles won't get their feet in the sugar water. Now remember, the nectar is the same for Oreos as it is for hummingbirds, which is 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar, be it beet sugar, cane sugar, it doesn't matter, and 1 cup of water. That's the way it works because the sugar becomes part of the water. So you want to put a little bit out, put the rest in the fridge so you can put it out. It'll last all week in the refrigerator. It will last for about 3 days outside without a problem. And then just let them feed. If you give them a bowl, they're going to prefer a bowl a lot of times because it's so easy. And they'll go to that feeding station. If your feeding station has just feeders, hummingbird feeders, but you've got another feeding station or area that's got a bowl, they'll go to the bowl a lot of times. Now, they're not going to stop going to the hummingbird feeders as long as they can get their beak in there. But I use feeders with larger holes unless the bees start to swarm and look for food. Generally, a bee comes by, can't really get in, and he leaves. So I don't worry too much about the bees. But sometimes in the fall when it gets really hot and they can't find a lot of food, that is generally when they're starting to look at feeders, and I sometimes have to swap over to ones with bee guards. Generally, those have a yellow flower with a very small hole just for the hummingbirds, and the orioles can't get in there. And a lot of times my orioles in my area are gone by then, so I don't have to worry about it. Pretty much all year I use the feeder that has a larger hole, which is my favorite feeder. I have one feeder that's absolutely one of my favorite. We'll get into that another time. Today I just wanted to talk about that. So I don't want to get rid of them. No, we do have hundreds and thousands of hummingbirds. A lot of them migrate out of here and go up north, and a lot of them stay. You want to see what they're doing now? I'll give you a treat. There's a nest I think her babies have just hatched. I think they're tucked away in there. And let me show you something else. Let me back up really quick, because this is the first time this has ever happened. There's a nest. So we've got 2 nests on my deck garden area. One there and one there. 2 nests that are about 15 feet apart. That is unbelievable. And she just flew off. She was above my head a few minutes ago. We have another nest on the front of the house. We have nests on all the trees. We have actually found dozens of nests all over the place. So they are still nesting everywhere. And they can nest into July sometimes. So they're not really done. They're still nesting. Now, I'm going to step back out of here because the tree right now is full of orioles. We have 2 species this year that have come in. We've got the hoodeds, which are the yellow ones with the black bib. They have come in this year, like always, and they have just been, the numbers have been amazing on how many that come in. The other species that has come in this year to stay are the bullocks. They have black on the back of their neck and a stripe across their eyes, very faint stripe, which is an easy way to see the females because they have that stripe on them and the hoodeds do not. And then they have a stripe down their neck, the bullocks. Now, normally the bullocks come through here at the time of breeding season. They drink a little bit and then they leave and they go somewhere else to breed. But this year they're breeding here. So we have just as many bullocks as we have the hooded orioles. And I've noticed some that might be hybrids because not only do they have a black bib, but they've got a black nape, which is very unusual. So that's basically it. I wanted to just kind of touch base and say if you've got an ant problem, put your feeders, if you got feeders that are standalone feeders that are not being hung, put those on a tray and with water, and you won't have any problems with ants. And if you want to bring in the orioles, give them a tray. Some people have suggested put some jelly out on some bread or something and they'll nibble it. I haven't done that, but if you do it, that's cool. I'm just really trying to cater to the hummingbirds, but allow the orioles to come in too. And they're finding plenty of food in the garden to eat around here too, because the orioles are very big on insects. They eat the big insects where the hummingbirds eat the tiny, tiny insects. So everybody lives happy ever after. And as soon as the sun comes out, my water feature will go. And here they came, the hummingbirds. The sun came out and they came and took a bath. It was so much fun to watch. So I hope I've given you a little bit of information and a little bit of enjoyment to enjoy the hummingbirds and the orioles that came in all morning today. And like I said, are waiting to come back in now. And here they come as I step back in the house. And hope you just brought a little brightness into your day because we can use it. With that, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody.